Hey, welcome to the Tim and Gugabe podcast. This is your host, Tim. Gugabe, how are you doing? It's been a long time. It's been a few weeks. How have you spent your break? Have you enjoyed it?
Yeah, it's been pretty good. Been overseas for a bit. That's been solid. Yeah, ticking along. How about you, Tim?
Good. I'm usually always ready for the breakdown, and I am. I'm like glad the card's coming back, but it's weird. Usually, like these winter breaks where we have like a month off, like each day I'm just itching and want the UFC to come back. And this one I actually kind of enjoyed the time off. Pretty chill time off. Got a lot of stuff done I wanted to get done. But a lot's happened since. We'll briefly talk about the previous card because it was so long ago, Covington and Edwards, and then we'll maybe talk about a few of the new matchups that got made. Then we'll go into this card and just kind of wing it from there. But Covington just looked really shot. I was afraid that could happen. Yeah. I was like, at least we know Edwards is going to be like somewhat close to his prime. Where Covington, because I really do think Covington like did it. Whenever I rewatched the Masvidal fight, I didn't think he looked as good. Like I thought he lost in athletic gear, and then it was even more obvious. I still think like. I picked Leon, like, because I think Magic got mad at me because I was like, I still think Covington could have maybe won the fight if he like went for wrestling right away.
Yeah.
But like he would have had to get like anytime he's not going for takedowns, he's losing the fight though. And he looked awful on the feet. Like, of course I would favor Edwards every time going forward. But it's like when he attempted one takedown in the first 3 rounds, and then he went for like 8 in the next 2 combined. And he won round 5 clean, and round 4 was like pretty competitive, you know, like I feel like he could have made it more competitive, but he also like his striking looked bad. I will attribute some of that to Edwards. I do think he can make people look bad because he controls range, makes it a technical fight. So I do think there's credit to Edwards for sure, but like Covington was very, very shot. And I think that was like the main thing. Do you kind of have similar thoughts?
Yeah, it just kind of reminded me of Aspen Ladd versus Norma Dumont, where it was just like, if Aspen Ladd had just, honestly, like, if Colby had just come out frothing in the mouth, there's probably a greater chance he gets knocked out, but I don't think it's that high a chance he gets knocked out. And, like, more chance, he just needed to get through about 10 minutes of shitness to then just win the fight kind of a thing. And he didn't push that. And, like, Edwards is pretty good at keeping the pace low.
Yeah, he's a good neutralizer, yeah.
But I still think if Colby had just gone for it, it would have been more like, you either lose or you win kind of situation whilst doing what he did. And in fact, he still won round 5 whilst not really doing much early. Just kind of I look at that and I go, I feel like a younger, more aggressive Colby could have just beaten Edwards quite firmly.
Colby Covington 2019 wins that fight. Like,
the guy beat RDA. The guy beat RDA, but beats him all day.
It was weird. I wasn't impressed with either of them. I thought Covington looked really bad, and honestly, Edwards, even on the feet, a couple times Covington like strung together a few like pathetic punches and landed. And I also thought like the scrambling of Edwards, whenever he got the back of Colby and Colby did that little like college wrestling scramble, Edwards like had no idea what to even do. Like when they were on the mat, Colby was actually superior when it came to like scrambling. But I really just wasn't impressed by either guy. I thought they both kind of looked shit, honestly. But yeah, whatever.
I mean, what's been Edwards hasn't really had an impressive fight since like RDA. Like that's pretty much the only fight I've come out of with Edwards and just been like, fuck yeah, that guy looks like a champion. Like even his wins, he just But like the Usman fights, like the first one was a fucking miracle. So the first championship one was a miracle. The second one was like, it just looked like Usman was having he beat Usman clean, but like the margins are still quite tight, and Usman looked dreadful. And before that, Nate Diaz, the Nate Diaz fight, he almost fucked it up. But I just think Edwards is one of those guys who just doesn't look. I don't know. I've always found it very hard to be interested in them. But like, I feel like he might actually have quite a bit of Shavkat, just because I feel like Edwards could just create that awful, tedious, outside space kind of fight against Shavkat. I think Shavkat will just kind of take it.
Yeah, I do think, though, like...
I mean, I favor Shavkat. I just say.
Rachmanov pressures you more, though. And, you know what I mean? Like, he, like... Like Colby.
Sometimes I feel like Shavkat is comfortable doing fuck all at distance. That's what I made issue with Shavkat. Like Neil fight, like the guy who fought Neil should be able to beat Edwards because if he just switches that gear on. But no, his other fights, I just feel like if Edwards just keeps denying the clinch, kick him in the leg, and pivoting out, you could just see like awful fight.
It's weird because Edwards is a really weird dude. The thing is, like, I kind of sounds like I shit on him a lot. But the funny thing is, I picked him in every fight except RDA and him were even at that time. People don't remember, and you and I were like quite like vocal about Edwards in that position. I picked him in every fight except Usman, but I still respected him enough. Like you know how much I loved Usman. Like I played Usman a lot, like in his run and in a lot of fights. And I picked Edwards in every fight except against Usman, but I still didn't play Usman. Like at minus 250 in both ones, I kind of I passed. So I respect Edwards, but I also just feel like. Yeah, I don't know. I just feel like he doesn't put up enough offense. Like he still didn't land that many strikes against Colby, you know, but he is very hard. Like he's a neutralizer. It's weird because he can look not that impressive, but he's hard to do things too. So he can still like win. He's a really weird fighter to break down.
I just think he's like high floor.
I also just feel like the technician thing. It's like if Colby just pushed a pace more, I feel like Leon could just wilt. I really do.
Yeah.
Like, because a lot of people just aren't like being aggressive enough against him. Like Kamaru was really aggressive with him in that second championship fight and fucking beat his ass most of the fight. Like even on the feet, he was kind of beating his ass. I think people forget that. But I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. We're talking way too much about this. But Edwards is a good fighter, but he is like a weird one because I don't like his offensive output.
I just see him as being high floor, low ceiling because I just don't think he finishes very often, and I don't think what he does is very judge friendly. Like it's just every fight, even when he wins, he just drops rounds. It kind of reminds me of Jose Aldo's like long run, where it's like the issue of Jose Aldo was you could never really push much of a pace, so it always meant that all right, you won all these fights, but the entire time it was just like on the brink of absolute collapse.
I got like you remember like I got like death threats about the Aldo thing, and the funny thing is like he's maybe I basically made out a tweet that he didn't put up enough offense. I don't like him all that much as a fighter, and that he's overrated. And it was hilarious because that's when he was still like doing well, and then he literally dropped multiple fights that I cashed. I got Volkanovski beat, like I got Volkanovski even versus him, and I was like, these new generation fighters who actually put on a pace. Aldo never really faced in his prime. Like Aldo was a great neutralizer, and Aldo beat a lot of grappling-dependent fighters who he was just better than on the feet, and he was a great defensive wrestler. But if you just do a little volume game like Merab, like Volk, like a lot of these Holloway, like I don't think that was a thing of Aldo getting declined. I think like in his prime, he would have. Maybe a little, but I think in his prime he like would have struggled against all those guys very badly. But
it's like Frankie almost beat him the first time. Frankie Edgar almost beat him the first time just off pure output, essentially.
And he's not as good as some of these newer guys either. You know? Yeah. No. That first fight was really close. I think people forget that was in 2013, if I recall. Their first fight. It was a really close fight. I think Rousey could have been on that card, maybe, or maybe not. I don't know. It was around that time because I know I watched those two fights at the same place. But Pantoja Royval, I had a little bit on Pantoja. I think he probably covered his line. He is a little nerve. He's a little like he looks tired in fights, but he, like I said, he fights through fatigue well. And so, like. And the Askarov fight's still like the main one that concerned me, but he seemed to have proved that he can fight a little longer. I do think he's a guy who might just like decline and look bad out of nowhere. Like he's getting in some wars and stuff, but he has a good back-taking game. And Royval, honestly, considering he's just not a good wrestler, I thought he fought pretty well. Like he was trying to not give up his back all that often, and he was trying to reverse positions at the same time. He would just lay flat on his back instead of giving up his back, like in the first fight, like, and giving himself opportunities. I thought, like, given his skill set that he can't stop takedowns, I thought he fought pretty intelligently. It's just his wrestling's not good enough. It's not like it was just a skill thing. His wrestling's simply not there.
I think for the first 2 rounds, that was the right idea. Like, I feel like you can see he was trying to not give up his back at all costs. I think for the first 2 rounds, that made a lot of sense. But when Pantoja started getting tired, he should have just gone, fuck it, I'm risking the back take, and just exploded up. Because,
because the fight was almost over. Like, it's like you're not going to win at that point anyway. Yeah.
Yeah, and, like, Pantoja's energy bar was low enough that it was one of those things where you just forced, like, 4 or 5 explosive scrambles. And, yeah, you could get subbed. Like, it could happen. But also, if you just... the one time you end up...
position at the end of round 4, and he started, like, actually landing. Like, it was only, like, a 20-second spree, so I don't think he won back the round. But there were some idiots who were giving him the round based on that. But, like, I don't think it was enough. But imagine if he got that earlier in the round. But at the same time, it's just he gives up too many takedowns and too many back takes. And Pantoja is too tough. Like, you can't slow Pantoja. You got to knock him out, and he's tough,
I do agree, but I also feel like if Royval had just forced a few more scrambles and had ended up on top for longer, just Pantoja's gas tank just reaches red zone, and then you can just all take over. Like the first 7 minutes, I agree he should have been super concerned about getting back taken.
Yeah.
Later on, it just felt like you've already lost the decision. So what the fuck are you doing, man?
Yeah, go for it. I mean, remember Askarov in round 3 got on top of Pantoja and made him look bad. Like shit can happen. Rachmanov is like, I have like a full picture on him now. Like I know what he is as a fighter. And I was very confident. Like his top game is like maybe the best in the UFC. And I think like Magic had said that, and I agree. Like Rockhold had like a really he reminds me of Rockhold in the sense that like their takedowns aren't that good, and they're like Rockhold would do upper body stuff too. I think Rachmanov's takedowns are better than Rockhold's, but he's very upper body reliant. Like he can't go below the waist. And I think a lot of guys are going to stop that, but if he gets on top, or if you're shooting takedowns, I think that's a good way for him to get on top too. Like I could see like a Kamaev shooting takedowns, maybe getting one early, but then later not, and Rachmanov getting on top and doing something. Like he's very physical. Like when you watch him, his like crowding grappling, I call it, like the way he just kind of suffocates you is really impressive. But I still wish his takedowns were better, because I think guys like Usman or something will probably stop a lot of his takedowns. But his top game's so good, his striking's good enough, and he's just such a freak athlete and like very aggressive that he'll probably win the belt.
Yeah, I mean, he's just Rockhold with a ridiculous chin. Like, that was the whole thing. Like, I still think Neil fight's kind of crazy, just him pulling that out of his ass. Like anytime a guy like that just beats Jeff Neal in a dick measuring contest, like that was like there was nothing on tape to indicate he would just have John. He's got John Jones style level like durability and cardio in his back pocket, which makes his game. It's just. Having A++ durability helps a lot in the running back game, because it means you can fuck up a lot and it'll be fine. My concern with Shavkat is still, if you leave him to his own devices, he can just do fuck all. Like I just feel like there's this risk of like Leon Edwards versus Shavkat could just end up being a fucking horrific fight, where like Leon Edwards just all pushes him off, punts him in the leg a few times, Shavkat kind of accepts it, 15 strikes around. I think there's a risk of that like happening.
Edwards is the most boring fighter ever. Like, I mean, he's good, but like as like a fan, he's bad for business. Like he's awful.
I just think I have the suspicion that Edwards Rachmanov was going to be fucking. It's going to be like 3 rounds of absolutely nothing. It's going to be fucking awful. Then Rachmanov's going to end up on top somehow while for a single attempt and then just kill him. Like it'll be something like that. I just have this very strong feeling that like it will just be very bad. I mean, Shavkat's weird because I just don't like he doesn't do much at his own pace. Like the Neil fight, I can't really bet against him ever now because the Neil fight has happened and that performance was insanely impressive in a very dumb way. But he's Luke Rockhold with a chin.
Let's speed it up a little bit. Pimblett, I kind of thought the top position outside would be there. Honestly, Ferguson didn't look bad. It's just he can't get up. Like,
Pimblett's not a top 50 UFC fighters. Who cares?
Pimblett's not. Pimblett is like an average UFC fighter at best.
I don't even think he's fast.
Emmett killed Bryce Mitchell, like knockout of the year, honestly.
I mean, Josh Emmett has a flaw. Again, like, I know people memed on me for betting him against Superior at plus 400, and it's just like Josh Emmett does hit very, very hard. And yeah. Like
Mitchell, I mean, we talked about a little offline.
Yeah.
I still think like Mitchell didn't attempt a takedown. Like I know you talked about the low base of Emmett, but like you still have to shoot. You have to test it out. And like there's still a very good chance Mitchell does shoot some takedowns, gets on top and dominates. And but he was kind of an idiot. And usually Mitchell's, even though he sounds like an idiot at times, like he's generally always shown very like high fight IQ and gone to his game, kind of like a Grant Dawson, but he didn't there. Menafield and Jacoby was hilarious because Jacoby was like better, but Menafield would just land the big shots. Like Menafield probably lost like 90% of the exchanges, but like he hits hard. Like I mean, that's just kind of who Menafield is. Aldana
Rosa,
insane.
That was ridiculous. I had Rosa quite big, and I was just like, after round one, like Rosa was minus 500 after round one because Aldana had been crippled, and then you'd think based on tape, Rosa would have better cardio than Aldana. Like Aldana's historically had shit cardio, and Rosa's historically like won every single round 3 she's ever been in.
Yeah,
and then Aldana goes to the depths of her soul and decides to put up 5,000. Like it was an incredible fight. Don't get me wrong, but like from a betting point of view, it was very annoying.
The Garbrandt fight annoyed me. I was a little on Kelleher. And I feel like that fight was like I don't know. I could be wrong.
50-50.
Kelleher was landing some nasty leg kicks, and like when it was happening, I was like, we're in good shape. Like I was like, I like this. And then the Kelleher just fucking, it's like don't run into like a counter hook. That's all Garbrandt has. It's all he does, and he just like continuously does a counter hook, and that's his only game. And then it knocked him out, and it was so annoying because like those leg kicks, and honestly I didn't know. I thought, and the pace was kind of picking up. I don't think Garbrandt would have. I really think Kelleher could win that fight if it got out of that, but like I mean we do know Garbrandt hits hard, so like he hit his win condition. But Lipski, it was so funny. Like Lipski, like I mean was the rightful money line side, but like how funny, like and she like literally paralyzed O'Neal like multiple times, like knocked her out cold like multiple times. But if O'Neal got out of that armbar and ends up on top, even concussed, she like might have won that. I was like, because I was like, okay, the takedowns aren't coming. It looks like O'Neal's fucked. But like her getting hurt, Lipski following on top, and then her going for like a positional sacrifice armbar. I was like, Lipski, you're an idiot. Don't do that. Just like let her come back to her feet. And then I was like surprised O'Neal got tapped with that. Like I thought she would just spin out, you know? And if she, like Lipski rightfully won, but like it was hilarious because when it was happening, I was just like laughing because it was just like a funny fight. And I was like, oh my God, if she doesn't land that armbar, O'Neal like might win. I was like looking for the live line, and then she tapped, you know. But that was like a really funny fight. Like Lipski's weird.
A little bit annoying.
Because like Lipski one takedown and it's like done. You know?
I mean, my thing is, I didn't bet Lipski much here, but I bet the under, and I bet Lipski KO. I bet like Lipski inside distance and Lipski KO. So Lipski KO for me has been fucking massive. As somebody who has hated Casey O'Neal with a passion from day one, this is quite annoying because I feel like Shevchenko or whatever could have like done the exact same thing. Like Shevchenko is just the opposite, where she just got pulled into the Neal verse. Maybe Shevchenko like TKO'd her inside like 2 minutes, and then O'Neal just kind of miraculously got out of the crucifix. Very start of the fight, like Shevchenko gets crucifixed very easily, then like smacks her a bit, then O'Neal just sort of just like does a fucking backflip or some shit from memory. The whole fight was like Ariane Lipski is Michael Johnson. Like it will look great until the moment it no longer looks great, and then that would just be it. Like she just has that
comparison. That
was my view of this fight because I was looking at Lipski. I was like, all right, I see intellectually why Lipski plus 150 is a good bet because she's going to absolutely lam whoever the fuck she wants. But this is a women's fight, so I don't trust the knockout that much. And like she's going to slip once, and that's going to be it.
I was pretty big on Tagir, and I also liked him by subs. I was happy about that.
That's good.
Tagir's an underrated fighter. Like clearly, like he was only minus 160, 70 against Durden and Manus. I played him in both fights, and like he was minus 400 in his first 3 UFC fights. It ended up being close, and he won most of them. But like, they were all against guys we didn't realize were good. Nascimento is a good fighter, you know, like he's solid. And Tagir, like this was just a stylistic matchup that was a nightmare for Durden. So I was quite big on Tagir, so I was happy with that. Feely, honestly, part of me wanted to play Feely because I was like, God, Almeida just like probably be shit. But I don't know. Like Feely has been hurt and like, but this was a big step down in competition for him. And it just, and I mean, honestly, even the fight, it was just kind of like he knocked him out early. But like Feely looked good. I was happy to see Feely win. I like Feely. Like he's always been a decent fighter, you know?
I mean, this is going to sound weird. Yeah, again, like I'm not a huge Lambikov guy, but I also think he could beat Pantoja. My thing about Lambikov,
Oh yeah, no, dude. I mean, first of all, I would take him over Royval.
Yeah.
And Pantoja, I was talking to who was I talking to? Could have been like Appley or someone else. Like I forget who. I was talking to somebody, and I was like, I'm like, I don't know if I'm gonna like pick him straight against Pantoja, but Tagir like stylistically could maybe win that fight.
Yeah.
And I mean, really good cardio too. Like he's a good fighter. He just got a couple weird fights, like against guys who are like 10 to 15 who matched up well against him. Like he can beat top 10 guys for sure.
I think the issue of UFC markers always that there is like a large component of power ranking that people use, and like so the Elliott loss to some people is an absolute non-negotiable. It's like I honestly felt like he covered his line against Elliott. Like I would make that rewind. I would make that minus 200 because I feel like Elliott like loses round 3 pretty consistently.
He happened to get dropped in round 1, and then after the fight, he kind of dominated. If that was a 5-round fight, he'd probably win 49-46, and we'd be like 49-46, 48-47, pretty clear, and we would have been like good performance.
We run as a 3-rounder. I think he wins at 60-65% of the time easily. Like Elliott hustles. I think Elliott has some shit for him, but I think wins that more often than not.
Elliott's a good fighter who just got fortunate with like timing of the round. He happened to land a knockdown. Like Tagir displayed dominance though. Like he won like 12 minutes of the fight basically, you know.
Yeah, or if Lambikov gets a back take before the last before the last round, like if Lambikov gets a back take in round 1, he probably just shits on Elliott, I think.
Yeah. Okay. Well, and then Gaziev was hilarious. Like it was a classic. Like Gaziev looked like he gasses type of thing, and so I picked Budai, and I was like, I'm glad I stayed away because I was like thinking about betting him, but I was like, dude, I never get heavyweight fights right, and like Gaziev could just randomly be a little better than I realized, and like he still looks a little early dependent, but he's going to be a motherfucker to deal with for like a round against a lot of people.
Yeah, and Budai's not. I don't think Budai's awful for heavyweight. Like, he's got good process. He's durable. Like, I don't think he's winning the belt or anything. But like, as an evolution, as like much in Tibura kind of the creature, I think he's fine. And Gaziev managed to stop him like getting anything rolling. So that was a good performance, in my opinion.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's move on to the new the first card of the year, Ankalaev and Walker. It's a rematch. It was like a no contest the first fight. Ankalaev, rightful favorite, more past the victory and whatnot. 5 rounds, like he could get top position. He's got a better chin too.
Yeah.
I didn't even rewatch the first couple minutes of the fight. Like I remember just kind of being a little whatever.
I took a tiny bit of Ankalaev. I took a tiny bit of Walker last time because I was like, Ankalaev could just decide to do nothing and get kicked in the leg for 15 minutes, kind of a thing. Like it's something Ankalaev would be very happy to do. Then like Ankalaev was going for the takedowns. Ankalaev was pressuring. Ankalaev had clearly actually done tape and had the right idea. So after seeing that, I have no interest in Walker. Like I felt like Walker's one of those guys where it's like, all right, you give me plus 400 on him, and Ankalaev can be kind of dumb. Like Ankalaev gave Blachowicz the chance to kick him in the leg for no particular reason. Like he could have just won that from minute 1 if he wanted to.
Yeah.
But like honestly, last time I feel like Ankalaev had the right idea, so I have no interest in betting this second time. And even then, it's like, and prop wise, like over under seem tricky because Ankalaev can just decide to do nothing.
Yeah. I honestly don't have much to say. Like I think like minus 450, like you don't really want to play that all that often, you know. But he's a rightful favorite. Manel Kopp and Nicolau, it's weird. I rewatched the first fight. I thought Kopp won, but every media member gave it to Kopp. 2 of the 3 judges gave it to Nicolau. Nicolau won round 1 clean, round 2 Kopp clean, round 3 split round. I thought the round 3 was very competitive, but I also feel like Kopp could have run away with that fight, but he was kind of being an idiot. The thing is, like, if he would just been a little more aggressive, I also just think he's way more likely to knock Nicolau out than vice versa. Like Kopp, like the durability edge seems pretty evident. I feel like Kopp could have done more. Also, Kopp could have took top position in round 3 and just didn't. Like, he fought really dumb, like, and still probably should have won, you know? I think him as like a slight to moderate favorite is fine. I do think Nicolau is like, can still strike competitively. I just don't think Nicolau has a high ceiling in this matchup. That's the problem. Like, he might have a decently high floor, but I do think Kopp's ceiling's just higher because he can win by knockout. And I do think if like someone just wins a couple clean rounds on the feet, it'll probably be Kopp by landing harder and whatnot. Kopp has shown a little more aggression since that fight, which I like.
Yeah.
But Nicolau could maybe land a takedown or 2. We have seen Kopp get taken down a little bit, but it was weird because after the first round, like, Nicolau was going for more takedowns and couldn't come close. I do think Kopp can defend takedowns pretty well, but he can get stuck on his back a little bit. But overall, like, I generally think it will play out on the feet where Kopp, I think, is just a little better because he lands harder, is more durable. And I do think, like, if someone just decides to, like, go for output and run away with it, it'll probably be Kopp. Do you kind of have similar thoughts? Like,
yeah, I had Nicolau the first time at like the same price, and honestly, I scored the 5 for Kopp. Like, that was a very weird decision.
And Kopp kind of fought dumb. Like it was a fight where it's like Kopp could have probably won if he like a little easier if he wanted to.
I mean, my view of this is like kind of similar to the main event, where it's just like, all right, Kopp should win and should cover, but also is kind of a dumb fuck who doesn't do much. So, but yeah, the chin disparity, like, some of my finishes, it's most likely to be Kopp. I think price, I'm just happy to pass. Like, I won Nicolau last time, but I feel like Nicolau kind of caught a very sort of marginal thing. And it's not like even Nicolau's even like going to work that hard. Like, if it was Schnell or something, I'd be more willing to take the chin risk. But like, Nicolau is very comfortable doing, like, I can't really see the Nicolau path looking minus 200, apart from maybe if he hits takedowns. Like, because Nicolau's own personal striking pace is so low. So, yeah, I just kind of feel like, all right, I can see how this ends up being a shitty split decision. And, like, I can see why Nicolau, you might argue Nicolau on that basis. But I just don't see many win past Nicolau, which aren't, like, a super tight decision because it's just how he fights.
Yeah. Miller and Benitez, I like, so I haven't deep taped yet, but I have like surface level opinions because I want to look in Benitez a little more. I've never, first of all, I want to say this first. Miller's a legend, like one of the most likable guys in the game, I would say. Like, I'm generally cheering for him every fight from a fan perspective. So there's that. But I think he's a little overrated right now, personally. Just like his wins are awful. Jesse Butler, not UFC level. Donald Cerrone, look, and the fight was competitive, and then like Cerrone has no chin. Nicholas Mota is terrible. Eric Gonzalez is terrible. And then those are his last 4 wins in the last 3 or 4 years. And then he lost to Hernandez pretty clean. Like and most of the times where he won, I generally like picked him. You know, like his competition was bad. Hernandez, I picked Hernandez to win. And I never pick Hernandez against anybody. Selecki won kind of clean. I played Pichel over him. He won pretty clean. He quickly stepped Roosevelt's Roberts fine. I played Holtzman versus him. Holtzman won pretty clean. Like, if fights get extended, all his wins are in a round. If fights get extended, Benitez could just beat the shit out of him. And so I favor guys generally. Like, I lean towards fighters who I trust more in an extended fight. And I also think like Miller could sub him or hurt him, knock him out early. Like, I think that's very possible. But like, Benitez could hurt Miller too. Like, Miller's older. He has been like knocked dead before. he's a tough guy, but hits hard, and I feel like Benitez is a better striker overall, like more technical, more skilled. And I will say, if I hadn't seen the Benitez Quarantillo fight, I'd probably be like playing Benitez here. But I don't want to give him too much shit for that fight because he kind of got rocked, and Quarantillo puts up an insane pace. Miller doesn't. Miller fights at kind of like a low pace and gasses. Like he's not good in extended fights. So those are kind of my thoughts. Like I probably lean Benitez a little bit here because I just trust him more in extended fights. But like he is fragile enough, and Miller will bite down and go for it. You know, he'll go for those finishes early. So shit could happen. But like this may not be the spot to like fade Miller, but it's coming for sure because I feel like he's a little overrated right now. But I am like cheering for him in general. What do you think?
Yeah, I pretty much agree. Like I'll probably get a link towards playing Benitez or even at like plus 100 if I can get it. I'm quite low on Miller. I feel like he's kind of run hard off some absolute bums. Like, yeah, Benitez is fragile enough that Miller could just run out there and hit him a big hook in a minute and that'll be it. But like, I think round one's still pretty coin flippy. They both can kill each other. I trust Benitez's cardio more. Like, I do kind of wish, like, if this was a Pichel or a Holtzman, where it was like somebody who I knew was durable and knew could push like a pace, I would be probably like firmer on taking him.
Exactly. And that's the problem. That's why I don't think I'm going to end up getting on Benitez. It's like he isn't that durable, and he will play like a distance game. Like he won't go after you all that often. Like he will at times. Like he's capable, but I can't trust him to do that. Where like Holtzman's going to come after you. And Holtzman at that time was very durable. You know, like he ran into Dariush later, but like Holtzman overall is like tough as fuck. And then Pichel is like, I don't even know if he's ever been finished in a fight, like except Khabib maybe. Or am I thinking of the right person?
I think of Horseshoe maybe.
Oh, Rustin. It was Rustin. He slammed him.
And that was like I think his thumb broke or something, wasn't it?
Yeah, and then Gillespie arm triangled him. That was Gillespie just like going for 30 takedowns and wearing him down. So yeah, that's kind of like where I'm at. But Benitez, like I do think like he could get cracked by Miller, so I'm a little worried. I almost hope Miller wins, and like we get like a I don't know, someone else who I like have a lot more faith in, you know, at like a decent number. That's kind of what I'm hoping for.
I mean, my concern with Miller is I feel like every fight he has now, which is a chance he just retires, kind of a thing. I think with Benitez also because he's like had such a history of missing weight. You just don't know if he rocks up fucking 500 pounds or something. That's part of why I haven't pulled the trigger just yet because I want to see weigh-ins just because I think he's got a bit of risk there. Never see they're going to do like fucking Miller versus Puelas or something after this. You'd imagine. I think Benitez a pass. I think Miller's been quite fortunate between matchmaking. Even against the bums he's fighting, he's had some bad moments. Like that Gonzalez fight was not easy on him. And like he's 40 years old. He's turning 41 in a couple months. I just don't see him having that much. I just think he just I think all the upside is Benitez. He's got bonk him.
I don't imagine a fight here where we like see Miller school Benitez for like minute to minute. Like it would be just like a finish. I can't imagine a fight where Benitez just fucking dominates him, you know?
Yeah.
So that's kind of why I'm leaning him. And like, honestly, Miller's more likely to get the sub. So the inside the distance lines are plus 140. I do think like Miller has more ways to finish because he can bonk him and sub him. Benitez isn't going to sub Miller. It'd be pretty shocking. But, so like that kind of concerns me, but I don't know, like Miller could just get knocked out here too, you know? So I don't know. Chason and Vieira, Pennington or not Pennington.
It gets cancelled. They got cancelled.
They're all the same person.
Fights off.
Oh,
fight got cancelled. Yeah.
When did that happen? Just like recently?
2 weeks ago or something. It's still up on a lot of odd sites, but like it did get cancelled.
Oh, is Chason Vieira canceled?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't even realize it. Sorry about that. Batista and Simone. What do you think of Batista Simone?
Should be a fun war. Batista's coherent, so if somebody looks like a big favourite, it's probably going to be Batista. So I think, he's got more chance like controlling the grappling or just like being a bit cleaner striking wise. But like I also trust Simone's like sheer athletic pace is kind of ridiculous. Like plus 150 Bautista is actually in range. Like I looked at this earlier in the week and I was like plus 120 with Bautista here. No, plus 450. Plus 150 is big enough for me to start like actually looking at seriously. Yeah, I feel like Bautista will pass at the current range, but it's done quite.
Agreed. I don't have a strong opinion on like a winner, but I think it's clear dogger pass. I feel like Bautista on the feet might just be better. Like might be more consistent. Simone. Yeah, and then Simone is a better pure takedown guy for sure, but I don't know if he can control Bautista like easily. Like that's just not. Simone doesn't have the best top control. I do think Simone's going to be hard to control on the mat. Like Bautista, that would be. I don't know. I could just see it being a thing where like Simone is like going for takedowns and whatnot, and like can't really hold him down. And then Bautista maybe wins on the feet a bit, but that could still just like be a recipe for a back and forth fight as well. So it could be competitive, but I do think it's probably Bautista or Pascal personally.
Yeah, seems pretty close to me.
What is the next one? Halls and Ferreira. You want to take this one?
Ferreira will land a singular big hook, killing Hawes instantly after getting owned for 3.5 minutes or something like that. Like, I mean, it's Phil Hawes. We know how Phil Hawes is. Like, it's a tragedy, but Phil Hawes versus Derek Brunson never happened because I think that would have been an incredible fight, which I would have been there for in person. Or like Phil Hawes, Derek Brunson, and Michael Johnson all need to like form a fighting league of their own and just fight each other all day because they're all just fucking. They all have their issues, and it would be just the majestic fights. And Melvin Guillard can come too, but like Phil Hawes is, Phil Hawes is one of the greatest glass cannons ever. He's probably like top 10 glass cannon in UFC history. Bruno's kind of durable and will bonk occasionally, so we'll probably get owned for a bit, then we'll just have a singular big moment. I still do think Hawes will pass. Like I think Hawes' chin cam, like Hawes has actually had occasional moments where he's shown some extra durability. Like I think maybe it's being memed on the look like Dalkas. Like he beat Dalkas, which made no fucking sense, but he did do it. I remember around one day Dalkas hurts him badly, and Hawes like hangs on with pure grit, and then just wins the next 2 rounds off cardio and gumption, and it was just like, what the fuck just happened there? Like again, I always kind of believe in mean regression when it comes to chin like that, where I just feel like nobody's chin is ever as bad as people think it is.
I see what you mean, but like, you never know.
I agree. I'm not saying I'm putting my mortgage on Hawes. I'm not saying I'm going all in on Hawes.
You can be much more confident in some people's durability than others. Let's put it that way. But like, it's not. But like,
even like fragile fighters will have some random outlier performances.
100%. Yeah, it's just hard to guess when that's going to be, and that's why these fights are hard to predict, and like why I would not play this fight. Like I generally lean towards guys who I think like are more skilled and proven fighters, like Hawes. So like I'll probably pick Hawes to win, but him just getting deaded seems very realistic, But like Hawes is like a good fighter. It's just like his fights are hard to pick because he's like the anti-Davison Figueiredo. Like Figueiredo is really tough to pick because sometimes he looks awful, sometimes he looks good, and then like his knockouts can just show up randomly. Or like Hawes, his like him getting knocked out can show up randomly. It's just like, how do you pick these fights? I agree. Yeah. Is there anything on the prelims you want to talk about?
Semmelsberger Parsons will be funny. Just kind of Semmelsberger bonk versus Parsons control. The rest of the fights seem pretty, clear winners or whatever. I'm not huge on Tom Nolan, but Malta just doesn't feel like he's got this. Malta just doesn't do anything, which means that it's like very hard to use him as a fade spot. Because if you give Malta his absolute perfect fight, it's a low, medium, outside striking match, and it's just like I can't see Malta looking like a big favorite in hindsight just because how he fights. But I think Tom Holden has some holes.
Magay and Bolanos will be kind of fun. Magay. I picked him to win by upset. Who was it that he fought? That what's his name?
Is that you? What's his name? Yeah.
I'll look it up.
Newsom?
I was impressed by his tape, and I remember
Newsom. he opened at like plus 200 against Newsom, didn't he? And everybody was like betting him, and then
he closes the underdog, and I picked him. I was like, I think he's gonna beat his ass. Like I was kind of like impressed by his physicality, taking on offense, and like striking. And he's an interesting little prospect. Like 135, he is a huge bantamweight.
Isn't he like? He's actually 33. Sometimes I thought he was like 40. I thought he was like really because I thought he was really old for some reason. He's not.
33 is kind of old for that weight class. Though,
it is, but it's not like
he's not doing wars or anything. So maybe he could say, if he was like 27, I'd be like, ooh, like he could turn out to be something. He still could make some noise. He just has to do it soon, you know?
Yeah, like MMA Lab is just a good gym. Like it hasn't produced that many champions lately, but I feel like MMA Lab is like in terms of like just producing fighters who are athletic and have their shit together. MMA Lab's one of the better gyms.
Yeah.
Like, that's a Benson Henderson, even like, what's the name? Bautista's from there. I just, if you see MMA Lab in the fight, generally, you're getting something decent. Yeah. Like, they haven't produced like elite guys lately, but like everybody there is competent.
Yeah. All right, man. Well, we won't talk about the rest of the prelims, but I guess some of the new matchups that got made, we can briefly talk about them. We'll go. Benoit Saint-Denis and Poirier. I've just been beating the drum of like how these fuckers in the top of the division haven't fought anyone forever, him, Chandler, and Gaethje. And finally, like, Oliveira's never been the problem. Like, Saruki and Oliveira's happening. Like, Oliveira just fights everybody. And it's hilarious that he, like, finished all three of those guys who just have ruined the division. But it looks like we'll finally get some like turnover here. Assuming they win, it'll be funny if the old guard Poirier, after all the shit I've talked to Poirier and fucking Oliveira went out but I've never had an issue with Oliveira. I like Oliveira a lot. But this matchup, like, it's funny. 4 years ago, Benoit Saint-Denis would have been the underdog, I think. But the market has gotten smarter on these like tenacious grapplers for sure. And I do think Poirier's defensive grappling has been like exposed a little bit, so I do think Saint-Denis is the favorite, like rightful, you know. But it's a fun fight. Like, what do you think of that one?
Poirier is finally getting his guillotine. It's gonna be fucking hysterical.
That would be funny.
Like Magic M's gonna be fucking going crazy, but BSD's gonna hit like 4 takedowns and then exhausted Poirier just jumps the world's stupidest guillotine and hits it.
It will be funny if Saint-Denis just tries to strike with him because, like, there is a big boxing discrepancy here. Like, Saint-Denis' pressure and body kicking game is awesome, but, like, Poirier could, like, if they get some exchanges with feet, Poirier, but, like, overall, dude, Poirier's defensive grappling is awful. Like, he looked bad versus Michael Chandler, and Michael Chandler
he did almost have to be. You got to give him that one moment. That guillotine. I'm not saying it was good. It was a good strategy. I'm not saying he hits it ever again. But that guillotine was very close.
I don't consider like guillotines and like random knockouts are like they're flash moments. They're not like they're desperate. You're basically like, I'm not better than this guy, so I'm going to try to guillotine him or knock him out, which is like fine. But it's almost like you're conceding you're not better, you know?
Yeah,
like if he's pulling guillotines on Saint-Denis, he's probably not going to get it. He's going to end up on his back and he's going to get the shit kicked out of him. He's going to guillotine so bad with Chandler. Like I picked him to win that fight, and he was the underdog going into round 3 rightfully. And then Michael Chandler, and like I wrestled with Chandler growing up. He did that stupid helicopter like high output move, gives up his back, and gets fucking choked out like an idiot. And like Saint-Denis is harder to sub in my opinion. Like he actually knows how to work up, and you know that. The way he worked up versus Favola in that exchange is awesome. And he's going to be too much for Poirier on the ground, I think. But, then Saruki and Oliveira, it's like Oliveira could always randomly get a finish, but Sarukian's like the rightful favorite. He's a better round winner. But that's an interesting fight. It's a good test for Sarukian. Like, I love Charles Oliveira, you know?
Look, I'm impressed by Chandler's commitment to making sure the minus AV side wins in all of his fights. If he's the massive underdog, and he's fucking succeeding beyond your wildest dreams, he'll just figure out a way to lose the fight in the last second. Yeah. And if he's the underdog, he just kills somebody. Like he has 2 gears, but there's if he's the favorite, he just kills people instantly. Poirier, insane beat on Chandler was probably like favorite, like hindsight. Ferguson looked like the favorite in hindsight. Gaethje, Chandler looked like the favorite hindsight.
Ferguson's so weird because he can look like the favorite on the feet, and then like all you have, and then he can't do anything once you land a takedown.
Chandler lost a round off against Ferguson off Ferguson's back like that. Like remember how shit like Chandler was minus 400 in that fight, and Chandler did not look.
Chandler is not a top 15 lightweight. He's not.
Chandler to me is just like indicative. I agree. But no, my thing with Chandler is like I just feel like the sport of UFC is structured in such a way as somebody can just go on a fucking vertical run more than like any other sport and just hang on there. But I do agree. Like there are versions of Chandler's career where he just looks a lot worse. If like Chandler's last few Bellator fights, like I had the Outlaw against him and I had Bendo against him, and I still think there's versions of those fights where he doesn't kill them in the round, and Bendo and Outlaw both completely annihilate.
The thing with Bellator, a lot of his title run was against like guys who weren't top 20 lightweights. Like
even like Outlaw, like what was Outlaw's last fight, which absolutely annihilated with dude in the grappling.
And the other thing is about Chandler, he had some bad losses in Bellator too. Like Will Brooks dominated him, and like
twice.
And, dude, like Pitbull, fucking a 45er who fought at 135 knocked him out.
It's like that's not.
I will say, like, because if Chandler went, it's incredible because like him and Will Brooks were like similar levels as fighting, and Will Brooks like beat him head to head. If Chandler did the Will Brooks thing, came over to the UFC and started fighting like the Oliveras, like that's who Brooks was fighting.
It is eventually.
He literally was fighting Oliveira. Like that's what he was doing. And then he got cut. If Chandler did that route, I think he would have probably went like 1-3, and we would have never heard from him again. He stayed in Bellator, fought really bad guys, won plenty of those fights, but like he didn't beat anyone that great. He had that Eddie Alvarez win in 2011, and then he comes to the UFC, jumps the line, and he's like 1-3 in the UFC. Like if he started the Sarukian route, he could have lost so many of those fights. Like
look, I'm not in the business of Will Brooks, but I feel like you're being a little bit harsh in his UFC run. Like what he got Brazilian Cowboy at his prime.
The thing is, I'm just saying, no, Will Brooks, I actually think Will Brooks is pretty good. I'm just saying, like, getting through the UFC lightweight division, starting 15 to 20 is hard. And I'm just saying, I don't think Chandler could have done that. Like, I'm actually, giving credit to Brooks. Brooks could be in Chandler's position right now.
I mean, I feel like with Chandler's, like, if Chandler had just run off 2 quick KO1s and, if Chandler had debuted, won 2 quick KO1s and then just sort of got parachuted right to the same place, that could have happened. But I feel like Brooks also ran pretty bad. Like, Brooks got Brazilian Cowboy, had a war with him, lost because, Brazilian Cowboy back in the day had a high floor. Like, Brazilian Cowboy was never a particularly good fighter, but he could fucking finish you. He gets Charles Oliveira, who at the point was seen as being shit, but Will Brooks lost to Charles Oliveira, no shame in that. And Ben Nickledge tried for 15 guillotines, one of the funniest fights in the UFC. I was there live for Lentz versus Brooks, and that's still that's an all-timer. You remember that fight?
Yeah.
Brooks was owning him every time Brooks went for takedown. Lentz went for the exact same guillotine, and he literally tried 8 or 10 times. It was hysterical.
So I'm looking at Chandler's record. 3, 4, 5.
Yeah, Chandler's run pretty hot. But I think the sport of MMA is just built to let people do that kind of.
Oh yeah. Okay, so in his last 18 fights, he's 9-9. Yeah. Anytime he's fought anyone pretty good, he gets beat and finished. And then his wins in that run, Ben Henderson by split decision.
Instant KO. Split decision the first time. Instant KO second.
In a fight that he was losing in round 4 and 5 clean. He got off to an early lead.
Cool. I expect Bendo. Bendo should do that to him.
Yeah. He quickly knocked out the bad Pitbull. Okay.
Yeah.
He beat Rickles, Derek Campos, Goti Yama. He's actually not bad. I forget how to say his name. Brandon Gertz, Brent Primus, Sidney Outlaw, Ben Henderson, Hooker, Ferguson. Those are his wins. Those are fucking awful. And then he's getting knocked out by Pitbull. Anyone he's fought that's good has beaten him. Will Brooks finished him and beat him by decision. But
in all of his UFC losses, he's been at least minus 400 live. at some point in every UFC loss. So it's kind of funny.
Yeah, but
I just feel like
fights, just kind of got owned, you know.
I think people struggle with the nature of MMA, where just like guys like Chandler can just happen. Like sometimes,
I know.
Just high floor, very low ceiling. Like this is Chandler's range of possibilities against anybody. It's 55% chance he loses, 45% chance he wins. Like it doesn't matter who he's fighting. It's just that's just it. That's the entire universe of how Michael Chandler fights. He's been fortunate from a career point of view. His wins have tended to line up in the right way.
Yeah, then like Will Brooks, he beats Ross Pearson, whatever, in his UFC debut. He fights Alex Oliveira. He lost that fight. Cowboy Oliveira, who's like bigger than him, whatever. Charles Oliveira, Nick Lency gets guillotined like an idiot. And then like since that time, he is 3, 4, 5, 6. It's funny, he's 8-1 outside the UFC. He got guillotined randomly by Gleason Tebow, which is kind of embarrassing. But like he has like a few okay wins, like, but I didn't know he fought. Yeah, that's hilarious. But like, yeah.
It's like
I kind of feel bad for him, honestly.
With Chandler, I would take like Prime Holtzman or Prime Pichel over like Chandler. Like it's kind of funny because like
I would take Holtzman over Chandler, like especially in like a 5-rounder. Yeah,
that's
what I'm saying about Chandler. He would have had to fight these guys at 155. Like if he did the Will Brooks route and just started getting matched up against a random top 15 to 25 guys, he probably would have went 1-3. Like that's 1-3. Like he's just not a guy who goes like 3-0, 4-0 against like top 30 lightweights. Like, that's just not who he is. It's him and Connor's hilarious because like Connor could just, I mean, dude, that injury, like just seeing how like Weidman looked against Tavares, like he looked hobbled and stuff. Connor could just look terrible and could get murdered here. You know, like Chandler has a legit chance to win that fight. I don't trust either guy. I don't think either guy's a top 15 lightweight. And one of them might be in a title discussion if they win. I don't think people will fall for that with Chandler, but if Connor wins, like because of box office, he could get like a big fight.
I mean, honestly, if I was UFC, I just fucking pull the trigger on Pimblett McGregor. I just kind of go, fuck it, we're doing this. Like, if I'm UFC, I don't see Pimblett. Like, I don't think UFC. Yeah, why not?
Agreed, 100%. Like, if Connor beats Chandler, that's the fight because either of them could win, and it would be a huge fight. And Connor that could like keep Connor could win that fight, and that could keep him really relevant.
I wouldn't even bother with Chandler. Again, if I'm UFC, I don't make the Chandler fight. I just say straight up Pimblett. Because, like, what's the UFC going to do with Pimblett for the next 6 months to a year?
Yeah.
Like, I don't think there are not enough homeless people in the top 20 for, like, I don't trust Pimblett to, I don't see who you put Pimblett against where you have a fairly confident chance of him winning in that sort of top 30 lightweights. And Pimblett versus McGregor is like, fuck it, why not? Either could win. The winner's box office. The loser, it's probably a fun fight. And like, just fucking, like, my view is just do Pimblett McGregor.
Yeah. Especially if Connor wins, but I do see, like, they could just do it now. But honestly, though, like, Chandler is very winnable for Connor. Like, that is a true pick'em fight. There are big question marks. Chandler's not very good. McGregor might look terrible coming off this.
All Chandler fights are true pick'em fights. I do not care who Chandler fights. He has a 45% chance of winning. That's all he's got. Like legitimate anybody on the UFC roster. Like I would say Weili Zhang to be exactly 55% chance of being Michael Chandler. I would give. What's his name? Tom Aspinall, a 55% chance of beating Michael Chandler. I just think Michael Chandler transcends the idea of the sport. He is just 45% chance of pulling Michael Chandler.
If Chandler was in that Ultimate Fighter season that he just coached, like I would have taken multiple guys. Like Holloway beats Chandler. Don't you think? Like I do. People might think I'm crazy, but like I will take top 25 guys against Michael Chandler.
That's what annoyed me about Chandler not fighting that much. Because if Chandler actually fought, there would be a chance that we'd get some top 50 guy. Like we get Bobby Green or some shit. Like if Chandler actually fought, there'd be like 2 or 3 fights where we would have gotten Bobby Green, or by some miracle there's a late notice pill out, or something we've got big for Vince Pichel or somebody or like fucking Nicholas Dalby or some shit at plus 400 against him, and that's the fight where you go crazy. Because I just don't consider it particularly bettable in the top 15 because you just get coin flip against anyone and paying coin flip for coin flip. I don't want to do that. I do want to
We've been
play.
dragging on though about these, so I'm going to call this off. But we'll talk about Strickland and Duplessis next week. But thanks, Gugabe. Welcome back, and thank you everybody for watching.
Yep. Thanks, guys. Have a good one.